Welcome to a session on Microsoft Excel. In this session, let's understand on column charts. Column charts are useful to visually compare values across categories or for showing data changes over a period of time. Column chart typically displays the categories along the horizontal axis, that is x-axis, and values along the vertical axis, that's a y-axis. So let's see how we can construct a column chart step by step. So the first step is arrange your data in columns or rows in the worksheet. So I have given you an example of the data set wherein the marks scored by the students in various subjects are captured in the form of rows and columns. The columns specify the subject-wise scores and the rows indicate the respective student names. So then select the data. First you have to enter the data and select the data. Then go to the Insert tab. In the Insert tab you have the chart group. So in the charts group you can go for the column chart icon. Last video we had seen how to use recommended charts. In this video let's be specific and let's directly go to column chart. So go to column chart, then we see in the column chart there are multiple subtypes of charts are available. So we have 2D column chart and 3D column chart. In the 2D column chart we have the clustered column chart, then we have the stacked column chart and the 100% stacked column chart. And in the 3D column chart we have 3D clustered column chart, we have 3D stacked column chart, 3D 100% stacked column chart and the 3D column. So we have to select one of this and go ahead with the construction of the chart. So now let's select one by one. For the sake of understanding, let's go with all the subtypes of column chart and understand how it makes a difference. So first let's go to the first chart, that is 2D column chart. So go to the icon and click the icon. So here you can also, before clicking, you can also have an preview of the chart, how it looks. Okay, click the icon, so you get a chart constructed for you, ready-made. So once you have the chart ready, first change the chart title. So let's give the chart title as subject wise marks as the title of the chart. So now the chart is ready, but this chart has got different elements, and you can also observe once the chart is created, there are two more tabs created in the ribbon. One is the design tab, the second one is format tab. So design tab is going to help us to change the chart elements and have the different layouts, change the colors, then select different chart styles. If you want to switch the row and columns, you can do that. We can select data, change the chart type and move the chart. So these all options are available in or under design tab. In the format tab we have or like you can insert shapes. We can have different styles of the shape, and we can have arrange many features. Then you can also resize the whole chart area. So we'll go one by one. First we'll go to design tab, and in design tab first one is add chart elements. So as I said earlier, this chart has got multiple elements. So to know these elements, we have two options. One is either you can click in the ribbon, or you can see one plus icon next to the chart. So you can click on this plus icon. So here it gives all the chart elements. It lists all the chart elements. Let's try to understand what are these elements of the chart. First one is the axis. So every chart has got two axes. One is x-axis, that is the horizontal one, and the other one is a vertical, which is y-axis. So here we have selected the axis. So if you deselect this, you can see it is not specifying anything what is the horizontal axis is talking about and what the vertical axis is specifying. So you select this, then you can know the horizontal x-axis is typically representing the student names, or we can also call it as in a general term categories, and the vertical axis y-axis is representing the marks scored by each student. So this is given here. So this is, we can call it as in generic term values. So these are all values in the y-axis, and x-axis is the categories. Now you have axis title is the next element. So here if you see, there is no title for the axis, both x-axis and y-axis. So if you select axis title, then you get the space or a location for you to add the axis title. So here we can add the axis title for better visibility and understanding, as I will put as students, student names, let's put. Okay. So now the x-axis name is student names, and you have similarly you have the y-axis title provision is made, and here I'll put marks scored. Okay. So now we have set the axis titles. Third one is chart title. So we already made the changes for the chart title, so it is already selected. Then we have something called data labels. If you go here, when you just mouse over, you can see some numbers are displayed on top of the columns. So this values which is part of the columns is called as data labels. If you select that, then you get a you get a display of values on the each column. If you deselect it, it just vanishes. So for timing, let's just remove that. Let us not have the data labels. To have better visibility, let me just maximize this. Okay, increase the size. Okay. So we have now data labels is done. Now there is something called data table. So data table is basically, you can see on the screen, it creates a table with the values as per the data set provided. For example, if you see here, the score or the marks scored by Pankaj in respective subjects are given in addition to the chart. So this is given a tabular form. So this will reinforce the understanding of the graph, and also gives the exact values which are not very clear on the graph. So this is called data table. So this will increase the visibility and the understanding of the charts. Then we have something called, we'll skip this for time being. Then we have grid lines. So grid lines is, if you can see when the chart is prepared, so it will be prepared in the backdrop of a white screen without any grids. But when you select this, you get a grid line. So it increases the readability of the chart. Then we have legend. So legend, if you just click this, so if you don't have the legend means you will not be able to see what are these columns representing. So there are 4 columns for each student, and will not be knowing what exactly is this unless you take your cursor on the column. So it's basically these 4 columns are representing 4 different categories. Like the blue one is for maths, next one is for science, then the next one is English, and the last one is the average. So this information, if you want to provide in the chart, that is provided by a chart element called legend. So when you click on this legend, you can see you get the details of the column in the right side: math, science, English, and average. Then we have something called trend line. So when you select the trend line, you can see it is asking you want the trend line based on which category, whether you want based on maths, science, English, or average. So select the appropriate one. Let's take average and click OK. Can you see a line here? Can you see a line from here to here? So this is basically a trend with respect to the categories and the average score scored by each student. So this is basically a trend line which gives an indication how the scores are uh, moving. So these are the different elements. And further, if you see, there is an arrow mark next to each element. If you go to axis, you get a right arrow, axis titles, chart title. So like this, you have a right arrow for all the chart elements. If you click on this, you get further settings for sub elements. Like in axis, you have primary horizontal axis and primary vertical axis. So you want these two axes or not. So that you are selecting. Like this, you have different options. For the fear of timelines, and I don't want this video to become too long, I'm not discussing these things in this video, but you can still explore when you're working on Excel. And if you have any questions, you can always write back to me. Fine. So axis titles, you have again you have options. Chart titles, so you want the chart title above the chart, like whatever we have here, or you want centered overlay, that means it will be on the graph itself, or you have other options available. Data labels, so data labels can be either at the center of the column, or it can be inside inside the column you can have, or inside base, or the base you can have. Like this, you have multiple options. Data table, again you can have with legend keys and without legend keys. You can have, okay, we'll come to error base later. And we have grid lines. It can be primary major, horizontal and vertical, primary minor, horizontal, vertical. See here, if you see, it has got only horizontal grid lines. There is no vertical grid line. So you can select if you want the vertical grid line also. So let's take it's there horizontal, yeah. So primary, minor, we'll go for major, yeah. So this will give you the major vertical. Major vertical is here. Okay, now you can see major. So you have grid lines. Grid lines has got different options: primary, major, primary, major horizontal, and primary major vertical. If you select, you can see the grid lines, both horizontal and vertical, are displayed. Then go to legend. Legend, you can have legend to the right, what we have right now, or you can have the legend on the top, on the left, or any other bottom or other options. So trend line also you can have trend line with respect to linear trend line or exponential. You can have linear, or you can have 2 period moving range, MR moving range, many other options. So for timing, we'll stick to the major chart elements. After we have selected the required chart elements, then we can go for the styles. So if you see this, just move this. Okay. So if you see this styles, we have different styles available. You can see, and whichever is convenient and which is more presentable for you, you can select those styles. You can see this. Yeah, the background changes. Your fonts will change, right? Okay. Thickness of the trend line changes. So like many options are available for you to choose from. So different styles are available. So the second icon talks about the style, and also it also talks about the color. For example, here you have 4 different colors. If you don't like these colors, you can choose a different set like this. Or if you feel for the presentation purpose you want different colors, contrast colors, you can go for different selection. Or if you want to stick to single color, you can have a gradient as shown here, the sets. So you can change the colors also. Okay. So the first one talks about chart element, second one talks about style and color. Then we have the last one called chart filters. So here this gives you a flexibility to choose what data to be represented in the graph. It need not be always all the data in the data set should be represented in the graph. So it can be either partial or complete or only limited information. So here it has given, for example, the values of the categories, like different subjects they are given. So now it is showing all the 4 values: mathematics, science, English and average. So let's say I don't want average. I just deselect this and apply. You have to apply the selection. Now you can see. So now the graph is showing only 3 values with respect to each student. That is mathematics, science and English. So this gives you a flexibility to choose which data to be represented in the chart area. Okay. So now I just removed maths. You can see only science, English and average has been displayed on the chart area. Fine. Similarly, the categories. See, let's say you don't want to have all the student marks to be displayed. So if you feel Pankaj is not required, is doing well, Pankaj and Hardik, so you can eliminate these two, and if you just apply, you can see the chart has there. It has taken out the 2 students entries, and it is representing only the required 7 student data. So like this, you can leverage the chart area with respect to the given data set. Okay, so now quickly let's go through and understand the other subtypes of the column chart. So go back, you have the insert, then you can go for the column chart. So you can see now the 2 tabs, the design tab and format tab is not visible currently. The reason is we have not selected the chart. Once you select the chart, immediately you get design and format tabs on the screen. So now I have selected the chart. So and also you can see this once you select the chart, the data set, corresponding data set also highlighted. Now go for column chart. So here the next one is what we have is the stacked column chart. So before that, we can understand the 3D. So 2D column chart, we have clustered column chart we have seen. So what this 3D clustered column chart does. So this 3D clustered column chart are useful to compare the values against a few categories. Okay, when there are few categories, same as 2D clustered column chart. So here, the difference between 2D and 3D is in 2D, we get the values in a rectangular column. But in 3D, we get a 3D perspective. You can see here. So you are getting a 3D perspective instead of 2D perspective. But the depth of the columns does not really matter. So it is not considering the depth of the columns as a parameter or as a separate axis. So typically it gives you a 3D perspective of the columns or the data. And next one, what it has the stacked column chart. So here in this, and you can see all the chart elements remain same except the chart representation, chart area representation. Here you can see in the stacked column chart. So for a specific student, the values or the marks scored on each subject is stacked together. So the green is basically representing the mathematics. Here we have this. Science is represented by blue. English from yellow. Then we have the average dark green. So this is a stacked data for each student with respect to four different value or the subjects. So this gives an indication, overall indication how the subject performance of all the students. You can see here the green, then blue, yellow, and the dark green. So this can throw some data, and we can see which one is really affecting the total marks of the student, which subject is really affecting the student. Summarize the stacked column chart. This chart is used when we want to compare parts of the whole. That means how parts of a whole change over time, or compare parts of a whole across the categories. So like this, for example, if you see here, the dark green is the shortest one. So we can say the average is very low for the student, for a specific student. Or you can see here, this is equally distributed. So for the student Pankaj, all the four subjects are equally contributing. So like this, you can compare within the within the whole across the categories. So if you go for 3D stacked chart, so the same information is given in the 3D chart. So you get a 3D perspective. So next one is the 100% stacked chart. So if you go for 100% stacked, this is 100% stacked column chart. So if you see here, unlike the earlier chart, so everyone has got a cap of 100%, and within that 100%, the total what they have got, how the distribution for each subject can be found in this chart. So you can see some people have got very less blue band, that is basically science. So for this student, with respect to all the four values, science has not really contributed. So this kind of analysis can be done with 100% stacked column chart. So if the same is represented, can be represented in 3D also. So 3D columns you can see here. So this will give you a percentage spread or percentage of each value, how it contributes over different categories. So this will give you some idea about the percentage. So this is around 20%, this is 50 minus 20, 30%, this is 75 minus 50, 25%, again 25%. So this gives you the idea about the percentage spread for a specific category. And the we have talked about 3D also. Now we come to the 3D column chart, the last one in column charts. So go to the chart icon, column chart icon, and click on the 3D column chart. So can you see the difference now? So in all earlier charts, so the columns were stacked next to each other, or it is stacked one above the other. But here in this 3D column chart, you can see we have columns lined up one behind the other. So this is behind, I mean, this alignment of one behind the other for four different subjects. It is called as one more axis. So in this 3D column, we have in fact three axes. One is the x-axis, student names, y-axis, marks code, and the z-axis, basically the different topics or the categories. So this will give you much more clarity with respect to the visibility of the data. So like this, you can leverage any of the type of column chart for your need, and the based on the data what you want to analyze. Okay. Apart from that, let's quickly go through the format also. Okay, design, we have missed anything. Okay, add chart elements, we have already spoken. Then quick layout. So the quick layout will give you what different type of layouts you can have for the chart. See, this is one layout. You can have a different layout with data labels. You can have the layout 3 with chart titles, legend, and major guidelines, right? So like this, you have multiple options which you can choose from. And also you can change the colors of, I mean, which you already spoken for different columns. Okay, now let's say if you don't want the chart like this, you want to have I mean, you want to switch the rows and columns. Now you can see we have the categories with respect to subject, and marks code remains same, and the ZX has become your student data. So you can have this switching the rows and columns based on, again, on your data and how you want to interpret. Select data is, you can select the data. So here I just show you a small information I'll share with you. So you can see here the chart has been prepared, the x-axis being the students and the y-axis being the marks code, and this z-axis, which is the depth, is basically category of the subjects. So if I decide I want to compare the average, I just want to compare the subjects. So you can you can redefine your data set. So in this case, I just eliminated average, and I'm just doing an analysis with respect to three subjects: mathematics, science, and English. You can see automatically the chart area is also changed, modified. So this how the charts are have become smart, and we need not put a lot of efforts for um, having the column charts for our analysis. So this is how you can leverage the column charts. And you can also, if you feel this is not the right representation of the data, on the same page, go for design and select a different chart type. Okay, So that's all about the column chart. Hope you enjoyed. Please provide your feedback, and if you have any queries, reach us. And thanks for your time.